let's go ahead and get started. Um, for everybody that doesn't know, I'm Sunny Summers. I'm a senior policy advisor with the Department of Agriculture. I'm going to be Shannon's tech support for today. So if you run into issues, I'll try and help you with those. Um, we really appreciate you taking the time. As Shannon will talk about, and as you probably already know, this is a required training for anybody who is doing hemp pre-harvest sampling in Oregon. And we will make this training available by video. So if you have somebody that you hire on later in the season or somebody that wasn't able to make it today, they can still attend the training. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Shannon Lane. She is our current hemp testing specialist, and she's a wonderful lady to work with. I think you all will like her a lot.
Thank you, Sunny. I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen. Let's make sure it's popping up there. All right, are you all seeing a green slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So good afternoon. Welcome to the 2023 Laboratory Sampler Training. As Sunny stated, my name is Shannon Lane, and I'm also a case reviewer and inspector for the hemp program. Please make sure to drop your name in the chat so I can record who attended today's training. And as Sunny alluded to, the training will be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if you have samplers that weren't able to attend today, they can watch it on our website. So let's get started with a little overview of the hemp program. So the hemp program regulates the hemp industry using Oregon Administrative Rule 603048. We license hemp growers, handlers, and agricultural seed producers. My primary job is to ensure compliance with our rules by making sure hemp growers submit all of the required documents. And in regards to this training, I'm specifically looking for those pre-harvest test results and the sampling forms. Let's do a quick review of the cannabis plant. So hemp and marijuana are different varieties of the same plant, Cannabis sativa, and morphologically, these plants are identical. I think we've all heard the rumors that if the flowers are purple, it's marijuana, and if it's green, they're hemp. Or if the flowers are really sticky, it's marijuana, and if they're not, they're hemp. So none of these are true. You got a 50-50 chance on whether or not you guessed the plant correctly. So the only way to discern if the plant is either marijuana or hemp is to test for the total tetrahydrocannabinol or THC concentration. So THC is the major psychoactive component of marijuana, and it gives that high effect. Hemp, on the other hand, has a much higher cannabidiol or CBD concentration, and it must have a total THC concentration at or below 0.3%. With that, let's do a quick overview. Let's jump right into pre-harvest sampling. So all sampling and testing must be performed by a lab licensed with the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission and accredited by the Oregon Health Authority prior to harvest. Only samples that were taken and remained in the chain of custody of authorized labs qualify for testing. Samples submitted by the grower are not acceptable samples for pre-harvest testing. And sometimes when you're on site, the grower or the site representative likes to give you a little help with your sampling. So please do not take any input from anyone on your sampling activity. Let's quickly go over the grower's responsibilities when it comes to testing. So growers have three main responsibilities. One, they need to complete and submit a sample request form to the lab for pre-harvest sampling. Two, they need to ensure that their test reports and all of the sampling documents are submitted to the hemp program. And lastly, they need to harvest all of their hemp within the 30 days of the sampling date. If they're not able to sample their entire harvest lot within that 30-day window, they will need to stop harvesting and submit another pre-harvest sample request to the lab for the remainder of the hemp in the harvest lot. So let's review the sample request and on-site forms that you guys will be working with. Well, this is what the hemp sampling request form looks like. This form is on our website, and I have included the address on the slide for you. The sample request form will be filled out by the grower and submitted to the lab. So the grower should be using their 2023 grower application to fill this format. So the information on the sample request form matches what we have in our database. Please do not accept the form from the grower unless it is completely filled out, including the visual depiction on page 2 of the form. Also verify that the grower is licensed under the name that they are getting testing under. It's very important that these two names match. If the grower will be dividing their harvest lot, please make sure to use the harvest lot identifier. And an example of why the grower would need a harvest lot identifier would be if the grower notices a section of the production area is maturing faster than the rest, then they would divide the production area into 2 harvest lots and submit the sample request form that the lot is ready to be tested under, and then at a later date, submit another sampling request form when the other lot is mature enough to be tested. The on-site sampling form must be completed by the sampler. This form is available on our website, and again, I've included the address on the slide for your convenience. Use the information provided on the sample request form or by the site representative once you arrive to fill out the on-site sampling form. Please note any differences that you observe. Also note if there were any obstacles that prevented you from sampling in the required sawtooth pattern, and we'll go over that later in the presentation. If they divided the production area into harvest lots, please note on the form how many remain to be sampled. Make sure you fill the form out completely, including the visual depiction section area showing the sampling pattern you used to sample and the number of samples that you took. To meet the requirements for pre-harvest THC sampling and testing under OAR 603048, testing must be conducted as described in Exhibit A and Exhibit B. I'll go over some of the protocols, but you must familiarize yourself with both of these protocols before sampling and testing. These exhibits are available on our website, and I provided the addresses for your convenience. Let's go over some of the equipment and supplies you'll need for sampling. When you arrive on site, you want to make sure you have the following equipment and supplies with you. Forms. Make sure you have extra copies of both the sample request and on-site sampling forms with you. Paper bags. I would recommend the large grocery style paper bags for collecting the composite sample. Permanent pens. You'll use these to write on the paper bags. Pruning shears for taking samples. Disposable gloves. I would recommend putting a couple extra gloves in your pocket in case one breaks while you're out sampling. Boots or booties. I would recommend wearing boots that are waterproof and easy to clean after every sampling. I personally prefer bog or muck boots because they're super easy to clean and they're waterproof and weed seeds don't get stuck in them. Rain gear is optional. I do like to keep a set with me in case I go out and the plants are wet from morning dew. So it just helps to keep your clothes a little cleaner, and they're really easy to clean in between fields. Storage boxes. You want to keep storage boxes for organizing and containing your sampling supplies, and then one for storing the composite sample when you're done sampling. You'll want to have 10% bleach or other acceptable surface disinfectant for cleaning your pruning shears in between samplings. A clipboard so you have a hard surface to write on and keep your papers organized. And then the last item is optional, but it's nice to have a clicker so you can keep track of how many samples you take, and then so you can write that number down in the on-site sampling form when you're all done. On-site sampling. Only samples that remain in the chain of custody of the lab qualify for lab testing. Sampling must produce a representative sample of the harvest lot. Avoid contamination by disinfecting your tools and boots after you finish collecting the samples. When the ODA samples, we disinfect our pruning shears after every clipping. Only sample plants with flowers present. lastly, this is a pre-harvest test, so you cannot accept or sample harvested hemp as a sample. When you're ready to sample, you want to cut approximately 5 to 8 inches from a terminal bud or the central cola. That measurement should include the leaves, stem, and flowers. You want to take one sample per plant randomly spaced along the sawtooth pattern throughout the harvest lot. Avoid sampling dead, diseased, or mechanically injured plants. Since the samples are a measure of the entire harvest lot, all samples should be collected into one bag. Now that we've gone over what to sample, let's talk about the number of samples you'll need to take in the harvest lots. So please use this hypergeometric table shown to determine how many samples you would take in a harvest lot. This table can be found in Exhibit A of the sampling protocol mentioned earlier. I would also recommend printing out a copy and keeping it with your lab supplies for a quick reference when you get on site. So each composite sample is going to have between 13 and 29 clippings. So we've talked about what a sample is and how many samples to take in a harvest lot. Now I wanted to go over the difference between a contiguous and a non-contiguous production area. Some examples of a contiguous area would include an unobstructed field, one greenhouse, one hoop house, one shed, or things along that line. Multiple greenhouses or hoop houses are not contiguous and need to be sampled and tested individually. Examples of non-contiguous fields would include fields that have a road, not a standard driveway, but a road that runs between it, fields with fences that don't have gates, fields with irrigation canals or other waterways running through them, fields with tree lines or any other obstructing features are not contiguous and should be broken down into 2 or more areas and sampled and tested separately. Our registration staff verifies the production areas on the grower's application before approving the licenses. So if you arrive on site and are asked to sample something non-contiguous, chances are it wasn't licensed that way and the grower is trying to combine production areas for sampling and testing. If you're ever in doubt, please call the main hemp number at 503-986-4652 and get clarification. It's really important. Please do not sample non-contiguous areas. I mentioned sampling patterns earlier, so let's go over the 2 approved sampling patterns. These patterns are also from Exhibit A. Sampling must be done in either of these saw-toothed patterns. The yellow dots along the pattern are where the samples were taken. If field conditions prevent you from following one of these patterns exactly, it's okay to deviate from it slightly as long as the sample you collect is representative of the entire harvest lot and the area is contiguous. Please remember to include your pattern and number of samples taken on the on-site sampling form. Once you have your composite sample from the harvest lot taken, seal the paper bag and include the following information on the outside of the bag: the production area name, the harvest lot name, date of sampling, sampler signature, and the grower business name. Be sure to maintain custody and sample integrity during transport to the testing laboratory. Make sure you have all of the necessary equipment and supplies with you before you arrive at the grow site. Once you arrive, go over the sampling request form with the site representative. Survey the production area to be certain it's contiguous and choose the best sawtooth sampling pattern for the production area. Using the hypergeometric table as your guide, collect your representative sample. Seal and label the bag with the required information, and then complete the on-site sampling form before you leave the site. Now that we've covered sampling protocols, let's talk about reporting the required documents to the ODA. There are 2 ways to report to the ODA, either by email, or online. The lab should have the link to submit results online. However, if you don't have it, you can email me and I will send you the link. If you're submitting online, you do not need to download the ODA Hemp THC report from our website because the system will generate it for you once you enter in all of the required fields. Once you submit the test results, save the test report that is generated. then upload the sample request form and the on-site sampling form. That's it. That's all you have to do for us, but make sure you send a copy of the test results along with all of the sampling documents to the grower so that they have a copy for their records. The other way to report to the ODA is via email. You will need to download the ODA THC report form from our website. The address is at the bottom of the slide. Please attach the ODA THC report, the sample request form, and the on-site sampling form to your email and send it to hemptestreports@oda.oregon.gov. Make sure you send the same documents to the grower for their records. We would prefer it if all of the test results were submitted online, so we're notified of failed testing faster, and the results are automatically filtered into our database, which makes it more efficient for us to collect and analyze the data. Oftentimes your emails bounce back and we don't receive them, but ultimately it's up to the labs on how you want to submit the test results and the sampling documents. If you are going to be emailing the results to us, this is the pre-harvest THC report that you'll need to download from our website. The address is at the top right-hand corner of the slide. Please fill the form out and attach it to the 2 sampling documents to your email. And again, send it to hemptestreports@oda.oregon.gov. Failed pre-harvest test results must be reported to the ODA within 24 hours. There are deadlines for the grower to retest or resample, so it's critical to report failed test results within the designated timeframe. If a grower has a failed pre-harvest test report, they can have the file sample retested, or they can request that the failed harvest lot be resampled and tested. If neither option is chosen, or if the retesting or resampling fails, then that harvest lot must be destroyed. The ODA will work with the grower on retesting options and or destruction of the harvest lot. It's very important that you don't advise the growers on what to do with their failed crop, as destruction must be approved by the department. I thought it would be worth mentioning the most common issues we have with either sampling or testing. The frequency with which we are seeing this errors is decreasing, so we really appreciate all of your effort on this. Number 1, not reporting test results or the sampling request and on-site sampling forms. We need to have all 3 documents for each harvest lot. 2, sampling non-contiguous production areas as 1 test. Remember, if you have a question, please call the Hemp program at 503-986-4652, and either Josh or Jessica can help clarify for you. 3, combining 2 growers' fields into 1 sample. This can happen if the growers have adjacent fields. So when you're on site, talk to the site representative and make sure you get clear boundaries of the field. Lastly, incorrectly advising growers on hemp rules and regulations. If the grower has questions, please refer them to the Hemp program. And please make sure that all of your paperwork is legible and complete. So January 1st of 2022, we had some new testing rules go into effect that incorporated the lab's measurement of uncertainty to give the harvest lot a range of % total THC. We've been out doing some site visits, and we're finding that it's still causing some confusion with our growers who are used to that finite or static number. So I wanted to go over an example of a failed and a passed pre-harvest test result. So if the lab gets a total TH result of 0.36% and the lab's measurement of uncertainty is 15%, then the results would be 0.36 plus or minus 0.054, giving that range of 0.31 to 0.41% total THC. Now, this is going to be a failed pre-harvest test because 0.30 is not included in that range. So it's really important that 0.30 is within the range. Now, if we do that same 0.36% total THC and the lab's measurement of uncertainty is 17%, then that would give us a range of 0.30 to 0.42% total THC. Now, this would be a passing pre-harvest test result because that 0.30 is included in that range. I know some of our growers are still confused about that, so feel free to have them reach out to me and I can go over that with them some more. So growers must have their harvest lot completely harvested within 30 days of their pre-harvest sampling date. If the grower is unable to complete the harvest within the time frame, they must stop and request another pre-harvest sample be taken on the remaining hemp in the harvest lot. And this is just another example of using the harvest lot identifier on the sampling forms. I wanted to mention that the grower or authorized representative must provide the sampler with unrestricted and unobstructed access to all hemp and other cannabis plants, whether growing or harvested, and all lands, buildings, and other structures used for cultivation, handling, and storage of all hemp and cannabis, and all other locations listed on the grower's license. If the grower refuses you access, please don't argue with them. That could just escalate the situation. Thank them for their time and leave. And then once you're off site, call the ODA and let us know what transpired, and we can take it from there. As of January 1st, 2022, the labs must report all pre-harvest test results to the United States Department of Agriculture. The test report must contain the grower's license number, the grower's name, the business address of the grower, the harvest lot name, the name of the lab, the date of the testing, and the test results. This is just another reason to ensure that the information you collect during sampling is accurate. The lab should have all of the links to the USDA Hemp platform, but just in case, I've included the address at the bottom of the slide. Okay, so that's it for me. Thank you for attending the ODA Lab Sampler training today. I put my contact information as well as some helpful links on this slide. If you have any questions, I think we've got some time left and I can answer.
Thank you, Shannon. Whizzed through that. Oh, come on. Doesn't somebody have a question for Shannon? Now's your time.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop the recording, but I have a question for the labs.